Today on This Week in Social Media, we're going to do a little social media primer. We're going to look at the double rainbow phenomenon once again and learn about the latest social media news. Only one that wants an air rock guitar when that thing comes on? That's just me, huh? Welcome to another episode of This Week in Social Media. This is episode 14. I can't believe we've done that many shows. That's great. I am Sean Percival. I'm a VP of Online Marketing at Myspace, a little social network you may have heard of. In the studio today, we have Mike Bracco, as always.
Hello, how you doing today?
Good, good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. We do not have Judalina, but we have Amanda Coolong. How are you?
I am very well. It's a great Friday.
It is a great Friday. It's a holiday weekend. We're all excited. The weather is beautiful here in California.
Finally.
It's kind of always beautiful here.
Well, it's been a cold summer.
A little bit. Yeah, that's true. Global warming?
Global
Probably
cooling.
time. Yes. So today we're going to change it up a little bit. We have no guests. We have no Judalina, so we have no distractions. But in place, we're going to actually do some kind of social media how-to, and as always, look at the news and some other great moments in social media. To start off with, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, please let us know. You can email our ad guy. His name is Mo. Stands for Mo Money, Mo Money, Mo Money. It's mo@thisweekend.com. Always looking for sponsors to support Amanda's expensive hairstyles, and mine as well, too.
Sean's are more expensive than mine.
We just found out I do spend more on my hair. You may notice in other important social media news, I have cut my hair. This is a late summer thing. I also think it's because I'm a dad now. I got to be a little more serious. I'm a dad and an
The babies do like to grab the hair in tugs.
They do. She's not quite there. She's doing good at the grabbing of the clothes, but she hasn't quite got there, too. But it is true. I'd actually go to kiss my beautiful daughter, and I would notice she was like wincing because all my hair was falling in her face. That is a true story. So let's jump right into it. We really wanted to kind of expand the show more to make sure that we are kind of sharing our vast knowledge of social media and how we do it and how we do things right and wrong, of course. And so we kind of thought we'd start off with a social media primer. Social media 101, I like to say. Amanda, you're telling me you do a class on this kind of thing right now. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
how's that going?
It's pretty cool. I work with Web TV Workshop.
Okay.
And they have a lot of casting directors coming in and up-and-coming actors. We've had a DJ in the class before, people that are getting involved in web television. And a lot of these people have not used social media. I mean, they use web TV, but they don't do the promotional side of it. And they say, how on earth do I do this stuff? Where do I even begin? I'll create a Twitter account, I'll create a Facebook page. Now what? Yeah. And it's just the blank slate of what's the first step that I take.
It's kind of strange that even nowadays people are still trying to understand it. But I guess you're dealing with something that, you know, everyone can use. It's not for everyone, but at some point they're in their career, they have a need for it, whether it's business or personal.
Right.
And the big question is, I always love, it's always like, I'm on platform X, now what? And there's been a lot of books with that exact title. And so we're going to kind of start there.
Yeah.
What have you been telling the class, how they get started?
Well, for their purposes, because a lot of them are in web television and, you know, using the new media platform, so to speak, I tell them, you're using this for business. You're using it for promotion. So figure out what your goal is. First of all, are you trying to drive people to your series? Are you trying to build credibility or awareness around what you're doing? Are you trying to, you know, have some sort of expertise? What personality do you want? Answer those sorts of questions first to figure out what you even want to be using this stuff for. Have a goal in mind. And then kind of like when you create a website and you're looking to see if a URL is even available, you also want to make sure you're securing that brand across social networks.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about that. We've talked about that in the past. Basically, what are the services, Mike? You've kind of had some in the past. Essentially, allow you to do a scan on what's available.
Yeah, so there's a couple good ones. Knowem and Namecheck are a a couple of my favorites. If you pull up my screen
Namecheck
here,
I've used.
You can essentially just put in what name you're looking for. So if I put in mine here, you could probably see what I have and don't have. And it checks across all these sites which ones are available and which ones are not. So as you said, you know, when you're developing your social media strategy, you know, sort of what is your purpose? Some of these services might be more pertinent than others. So you can get a quick gauge on sort of what you should be locking down and whether the name you're thinking about you should use. So.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation, one, I see that we have J.S. Pepper in the chat room, who is a well-known PR critic, cynic, so I'm looking forward to his criticism. But back on this, like, I also noticed that a lot of people always have like these fluctuating names because they didn't really think it out. And on one service they're this, on one service they're that. They're an acronym here, they're a full name here. That's really annoying. I always tell.
Consistency is key to positioning, is
Super
what
important.
I tell people.
Yeah, very, very simple. One, because you don't want people trying to guess or having to search. You want to make it, you lower the bar as much as you can. When we named our daughter, honestly, I was really doing extensive research, and I was like, I want to make sure that she can own her namespace across these networks. And you know, it is a little tough. We try to do it, but I later found out actually, or before she was born, that like the name that we wanted was actually too long for some services. We still went through it though.
Yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
It's such a good name.
Another quick thing too is if you look at the list of services that you can be signing up for, that's the next step that I'll show people, because they say Twitter, they say Facebook, and I say that's just the very beginning of social media. That's microblogging, and that's a social network. There are all these other services that you should be securing your name across, and whether or not you're using them right away, just to have that, just like you would secure a website.
Yeah, there's obviously, I would argue, probably too many social media services.
True.
I look at that list. If we can pull that up again, there's some sites there that I've never heard of and probably don't ever want to hear of. And some of these, probably won't be here tomorrow. But yeah, I think it is important that at least own it, because what happens if you actually build up a great following on one service and then for some reason you decide to go over to something else and it's been taken? There's really nothing you can do. Have any of you gone through the process of trying to retrieve an old name from any of these services? Trying to do that?
Coolong is just such a unique last name that I think a Coolong's okay.
It's so weird. Like, honestly, some services are really good about it and they'll let you. Twitter in some cases will, but it really kind of comes down to this, well, who do you know at the company kind of thing.
Yeah.
And in Twitter, like, I have a backdoor entrance into getting something. They only help me out half the time. YouTube is hilarious. I remember when I tried to get /MySpace for YouTube. And like they're like, no, sorry, someone's on it. I'm like, okay, well, can you ask them? They're like, well, I can send them an email and ask, was how they did it. And I was like, well, I'm assuming that MySpace has some type of trademark at some point. Maybe they filed some paperwork somewhere. But like literally, it wouldn't give it to us. It was kind of like, get the lawyers out and then we'll let you have it, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's really, really tough. So like, there's almost no recourse for getting names back, as far as I can tell. Once they're out there, and people have a tendency to set them up and then never touch them, and then you just can't get access to them.
Squatting on social media.
Yeah.
I remember when Facebook had their midnight release. I don't know if you guys are.
Yes, I was there.
We have no life. We were doing that.
I was
We were all sitting
following.
there.
I think Jesse Stay had like a live event. He had like techno music playing, and everyone was waiting for the name. So that was a fun time. But
that was fun. You really got to get a girlfriend.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I see the studio's laughing at that one. Yeah, I do remember that. I remember they had a bunch of limitations, like you couldn't set up an account if your account was brand new, and like they actually did it pretty well to kind of avoid squatting. Now they've opened it up because they've kind of gone beyond it. I do remember though, like people were trying to get, facebook.com/MySpace, and then someone did facebook.com/index.html.
I remember.
So, yeah, there was lots of kind of funny ones that popped up there too. And then working at Myspace, like we always have these requests, and it's like, hey, that person has that great name, they haven't used it for a long time. We have a pretty open policy. If they haven't logged into the account for a year, you can actually reclaim it, and we're happy to kind of turn it over. Mostly because if it's a great name, if you're going to use it for branding, we actually want people to have it. So we're more than
it's better
willing to
for
turn it
you if
over.
there's interaction going on there.
Absolutely. Mike before the show was like, hey, can I get /Mike? No, sorry, actually that is being used by the president, so sorry. /Brocco though, I think we're going to get,
Maybe
which
do that,
looks like an old account for some Italian that hasn't touched it in like 10 years. So what else is out there? What are the big ones? I think that's kind of a big question a lot of people have. Obviously, Twitter's the big one. Everyone's infatuated with it. What else is out there? I mean, I always say you got the biggies. You got YouTube, Twitter, MySpace, and Facebook. What else do you recommend people they actually build a presence on?
Well, there are other platforms for easily creating a blog. So there's Posterous and Tumblr, for instance.
WordPress on a subdomain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you've got your photo sharing sites, Flickr. Most consumers, I would say, are familiar with Flickr now.
Sure.
You've got music sharing services. So you've got streaming providers like a Pandora where you can now easily tweet songs you're listening to, plus there's Last.fm and Blip FM, sites like that. There are social bookmarking sites. So especially if you're trying to build brand awareness and expertise, it's actually quite good to share links to articles that you've been reading or that you have a comment on, and then also have that as part of like a Delicious account or a Stumble Upon account, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've talked about this on the show. I've actually worked with companies who have compiled links or have done research for us. So many times they actually do Delicious, and they create a special tag or a username for me. They just send me that link, and it's the greatest thing ever because I just follow that, and then I have that permanent connection. It doesn't get buried in my inbox or lost in some piece of paper somewhere too. So Delicious, I think Digg obviously is catering to publishers now, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. So Of course, if you're a publisher, you're definitely going to want to be on Digg and kind of own that there. That site will probably be, as far as I can tell, is going to be burnt to the ground. There's actually a candlelight vigil tonight. I wish it was in San Francisco.
Kind of funny in San
I don't know if you
Francisco.
saw that. Yeah, so they're going to go to the Digg office and have a little vigil and kind of say their piece and as well.
But then there's the Newsvines of the world and
are those still big though? Newsvine, it seemed like was doing.
People still use it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and again, it depends on your own patterns too. I tell people where are you naturally online anyway.
Sure.
I would love to hear your comments on, especially for content creators you're advising, because a lot of these services, especially if they're free,
right?
You know, if it's YouTube and you're posting videos and all of a sudden for some reason your account gets shut down or something happens and then your content, if you don't back it up or don't have other strategies. So how do you talk about sort of content creators, how they protect their content when they're using these services?
Well, there are these things called cloud-based applications or software as a service applications, as you may learn about on This Week in Cloud Computing.
No, that sounds like a plug.
That are actually very important to backing up all of your social media. There's one that I cannot think of right now, but if you go back to the Cloud Computing files.
Backupify?
Backupify, yes, exactly. Backupify is a wonderful service for backing up all of your social media. We had, a great example here in LA where there was a really well-known photographer who kind of, decided to leave the scene and took his photos with him. And many people relied on those photos for their profile pictures and things like that, and they never backed up copies of them. So they disappeared. And Backupify is such a wonderful service for handling all of that. So that's good for personal use, but it's also wonderful in cases where your account may be suspended for whatever reason, and you need to work that out. You still have a copy of your stuff somewhere. Yeah.
Shifting gears a little bit, what do you guys recommend when you talk to people about their messaging? And I don't, I know Jeremy's here, but I don't want to be too PR-y, but like the messaging and the tone in social media. Like this has always been a challenge when I talk to people because they do want to, I've literally had people that are like, well, how do I fit my press release into a tweet? And that makes me want to, throw up a little bit because they're trying to cram, I honestly sit down with people and try to explain that you don't need to use all 140 characters. It's not like a use it or lose it kind of situation. You can, in these services, it's really about distilling. Like, how do you tell these people to bring their message into social media, which is usually a little bit smaller, and what kind of tone should they have when they're using these services?
Well, it goes back to the beginning where I said, first off, what goal do you have in mind for using social media, period? If you're using it for a company and, a specific brand, then you need to be applying those same brand principles to your social media presence. So your messaging needs to remain consistent, whether it's, putting out a press release and getting publicity traditionally, or whether it's echoing those messages online through social media channels. So what are the goals that you have in mind in general? And then what's the overall brand persona? And you've got to remain consistent with that.
Yep. When someone is going out as a brand, do you feel that the brand should be speaking, or should it be a message from the brand? They do those little carrots to kind of indicate that there's someone behind it as well. What do you guys think? I actually like, and this is CoTweet does a great job of this too, is if you're a brand, Hootsuite, CoTweet, they allow you to have this little kind of name on it too. So people feel like, it's not the the company that's speaking to me, it's actually representative.
An individual.
Yeah.
I think that's a really smart idea because, I hate to use the word, but it's transparency. It's saying, I am saying this on behalf of my company, so it's not just some amorphous, the company is speaking, Big Brother is speaking. It's this person at the company. Another great strategy is to have the various employees of a very large company have their own accounts too, like Scott Monty at Ford, for example. Has his own account, but everyone knows he's at Ford.
Let's look at Ask Wells Fargo. And actually, I got some inspiration for some things that I've done with these guys. Wells Fargo, obviously, it's a huge, monstrous bank. Scary, has all your money, has all my money at least. And so what they've done is they have a bunch of different reps, and they've really done a great job of kind of highlighting who those people are. Maybe it's just Wells Fargo.
Oh, underscore. There we go.
Yeah. Damn those underscores.
Yeah, just saying tweeting on behalf of, having a carrot.
Yeah, so I like the implementation here. So they have the carrot, they're showing the people that are behind it. Then they've gone as far as to actually put them in there. And although the guy in the top left looks a little scary, but still, it's a little intimidating.
Well, that's nice to actually put photos of the individuals too.
I like that too. So yeah, look, they indicate kind of some hashtags you may want to use to kind of get their attention. They talk about it. I'm sure there's some boring legal stuff there as well. But they actually do put a face with the brand. I mean, look at their avatar. It's actually people. So I think they've done a good job of, instead of it being like, this is the company and this is the message, you know, it's like, here's the people, we're kind of here to help. I had a great experience where I was literally complaining about B of A, and I was like, I think my tweet was something along the lines of like, just took all my money out of B of A and moved it to Wells Fargo, feeling much better. And then like they immediately swooped in and said, you know, thanks Sean, let us know if you need any help. You know, if you need any more fees, let us know. We can give you some more fees.
I think what you're really trying to say without saying it is that old school PR doesn't seem to get it when it comes to social.
Sometimes.
And needing to have a little bit of wiggle room there, and to be okay with the employees being the voice of the company. You know, you can't be so rigid with social media. You have to have a little bit more trust, and you have to let loose the reins slightly.
That's hard for companies. I mean, what if you are mid-level marketing social media person and you're trying to explain this to the boss?
Right.
That seems to be the biggest challenge.
Right.
In my history, like usually the boss is like, Sean, you just do whatever you want, let me know. But in some cases, other people in the company be like, that's scaring me that he's saying that. I'm nervous. Like, to me, like you should be nervous. Like I like making people nervous. It means I'm making some kind of impact, good or bad. How do you explain it to the boss? How do you get the boss to be like, okay, cool, sign off, I get it, I understand it?
It's not so much the boss as it is the marketing and PR team.
Yeah.
You know, because if they're not actively using social media tools themselves, and you know, they're still sort of, again, old school PR, it's about helping them understand that this is a way to directly engage with end users in a way that PR has never been able to before. Because PR normally is going through a channel of, you know, a media outlet in order to reach a consumer. And now through social media, they have a much more direct channel. And so it's about showing those positives and explaining that, look, it's a stream, and that stream is going to be flowing whether or not you decide to dip your toes in it. So it's better for you to be paying attention to it and letting people get involved with it than to turn a blind eye, because it can come back and bite you. So if you position it that way with a PR person, then they're going to understand it a lot better, because it's happening no matter what. So if you turn a blind eye, ultimately it could become a crisis communication situation.
Ooh, crisis.
To your point about get the buy-in of the boss or the buy-in of marketing department.
Buy-in of the execs.
The execs,
Sure.
I think a lot of the hard part is measuring it, right? But I think a lot of tools, I have Radian 6, if they want to pull up my screen, is one of the leaders in this space.
Absolutely.
Of the tools that you can now use that get down to the details and being able to monitor and measure whatever your goals are in terms of social media. So.
Radian 6 is a great company. If you got some cash and can afford it, definitely do it. Just signed a deal with them recently, so looking forward to kind of seeing what they have. And yeah, I think they actually provide the reports in something that anyone can kind of understand and digest. And if you're a big brand especially, there's so much going on. I mean, if you're a little guy, you probably don't need Radian 6. If you're a little guy, you should be able to kind of compile it yourself and distribute that however you need to.
And even beyond, you know, what sort of results are we getting from social media, it's also good to tell a PR person, you've got this built-in audience of marketers that are there, you know, ultimately to become an extension of your team. So if you get what we call lovingly at This Weekend a super fan, then they become, you know, that word of mouth for you. They help spread messages for you. There's the viral aspect of it. Plus, they're there in case you want to poll them, you know, get information back out of them. So there are tools like SurveyMonkey that we all tend to use, and that's great for throwing questions out there and getting some really good positive feedback from people.
Yeah, we did some feedback too at Myspace, and it was really interesting, and actually did guide how we made some choices on the product. And we used SurveyMonkey as well. So
I just want to mention real quick, the chat's mentioning visible measures. JS Pepper in the chat. That is a good tool as well. And I always love, they do the top 10 viral videos every week, which is kind of a great place to go if you kind of want to see what the top videos are. They always kind of
I've used them as well. Think that's definitely a good one, and especially for video, they actually do power a lot of the analytics that we use at Myspace as well. So great company, great in-depth research as well too. All right, well, let's shift gears. Let's talk about getting more out of this. Like people always come to me and they're like, I gotta get more followers. It's like, I gotta get it. Like, I just, you know, give me more. I just gotta give more. So that's always the big one. I guess we can start there, but actually no. First, let's go into something else, is actually using these services. And we talked a little bit about the show, is a lot of people come to these things and it's like, what do I do now? Okay, I told everyone about the sandwich I'm having. Like, how do I how do I bring this in? And I always sound stupid and corny. I say this and just tell them that social media is storytelling. What is your story? Is the story about you? Is it about your company? Is it the adventure? When I talk to startups, it's like, you know what? Bring every piece in it. Talk about the trials and tribulations. Talk about the great things. Talk about your successes. Definitely talk about your failures as well, so people can kind of learn from that too. But let's talk about like how you get more into these services. And like I am always a big fan of better living through automation, I say. And that sounds like some horrible sci-fi futuristic movie. But so things that I use, Twitter feed, I think is great.
Oh, absolutely.
So here's the big thing. If you have a blog, there's no reason why you don't really want to bring it into your Twitter account, especially if it's a publication, if you're a brand, or if you're doing personal blogging as well too. I don't know. Some people hate this stuff, and they really feel like they got to manually do everything, and that's fine. If you got the time and the resources, knock yourself out and go crazy. Personally, I just don't want to think about it. I just want to know that I've hit publish on that piece of content and then it's gone where I've set it to go. Other ones I want to talk about as well, network blogs, which is the Facebook one. And so if you have a Facebook fan page or a personal page and you want to bring in your blog, it does a great job. It automatically aggregates your blog into there. The setup process is a little convoluted here, but once you get it going, it's actually really nice. Brings it into your blog, brings it into your Facebook page, brings in a thumbnail, so it's going to give you a little bit nicer CTR because people see that thumbnail, it scrapes it from the page. And then there's another product called My Feed Sync, which is the same for MySpace as well. So I always think about like, if anything is in RSS, think about how you can bring it in, you know, to your service automatically. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you use anything in particular, or are you kind of
all the above, and then also we've mentioned CoTweet, Hootsuite. All these services are really nice. For instance, here at This Weekend, we use Hootsuite for our different accounts, and you can post to multiple Twitter feeds, you know, multiple Twitter accounts. You can also post things to Facebook. You can even post to Ping FM. And that, you know, just to put a little caveat there, I'm careful with services like a Ping FM because
it goes to too many places.
You don't want things like that to go to too many places and to appear spammy. But for instance, if you have a quick status update that is truly just a microblog post, then you can have a Ping FM set up specifically for all of the update bars, whether it's going to Twitter or your status update on LinkedIn, or your status update even on your IM account. So, you know, it's something as simple as that, and really being able to break down Ping into some of those more manageable buckets. If it's a photo that you're posting, you can have a specific Ping FM account set up that has Flickr and Tweet Photo and all of those that are hit. So making sure that the very specific pieces of content are going to buckets.
Yeah, I always say, like, don't cross the stream. I think it's a little strange when you're bringing all your Twitter activity into Facebook. And you're bringing all your Facebook into these other services. So I think you really have to think about what is the asset. If the asset's a blog post, it's probably, it can travel a little bit more. If it's a photo, it can live freely. Status updates are the one thing too. I don't know. I think it's a bad experience when people tend to bounce back and forth between tabs. I load up Twitter, I see everything, and then I go over to Facebook and I see all these same messages as well. It's a little bit annoying, but
that's spammy.
That's too much. That's too much aggregation. You've over-aggregated yourself.
I have a question for you because I think I've had this debate with you before.
Debate it out.
About cross-posting on different social networks. My personal opinion is that it's less is more, and that if you engage the community, because I think a lot of social networks have their own sort of ecosystem and their own sort of dynamics. And I think when you're posting across multiple accounts but not really engaging in that community, that you lose some of the value there. So what do you think about
I'm completely on the same page with you there. When I say cross-posting, I mean in very specific instances. So if it's a really great blog post that I know would also match community X that I'm a part of, then I may post it there as well. But only in very limited instances. Yeah.
Very important from the chat room. Someone thought you're cute, actually. I don't know who that is. We've lost that message. JS Pepper's asking about MySpace Facebook sync, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I totally agree. I actually don't use it in that manner, though, because for the exact reasons I talked about. So I try not to echo. I don't want a social media echo going through. So
I have a question about Twitter feed because I don't use it.
Does
it? Can you change up the titles? Because I think one of my pet peeves is when I see like new blog post : link.
That's customizable, yeah.
Okay, that's
so you don't see. I actually like that, just so you kind of, I don't know. It almost like it adds some urgency, like it's something is fresh. So you can have a prefix on that. It can be whatever you want. You can fill in text. You can have nothing as well. So you can just have the title. Yeah. So and you can have something at the end of it as well. So in some cases, I'll actually do new blog post, title, link, and then a hashtag as well. if there's a hashtag that's always going to be related to that piece of content. Right. But yeah, I mean, Twitter feed's great. It has lots of options. You can set the frequency. You can do one at a time, multiple time. Like they've really kind of put in all the little features there too.
And Brocco's all about consistency, so he's going to love it.
So I think that's kind of what I want to talk about as far as aggregating our content and how that works. Let's talk about the other stuff that's out there, because I think a lot of people don't know about these services. And whenever I tend to use one of these weird services, people are always like, whoa, I didn't even know that existed. My big ones are Posterous. Love Posterous. Once again, I think it's like Ping FM, because you can control and say, I want this to go here, I want that to go here. You have a nice level of control there. My other big one right now is Cinch, which is Cinchcast.
You really like Cinch.
I love it. I don't
Little
know.
baby Charlotte loves Cinch.
Yeah, we captured, and they wrote a blog post about that, which is really nice. We captured our baby's first cries on Cinch. I did the baby's heartbeat. But really, it was a lot of time where I didn't really want to... sometimes writing a blog post is tough. It's tough to sit down to make the time when you can actually sit and within a few minutes kind of, get out your message. And there's been a lot of times where I just do what I kind of call, pillow talk, where it's literally my wife and I just sitting there. We have the phone and we're, sitting there between us.
You can hear the baby coo.
Yeah, we're just kind of laughing and chatting. And I don't know. To me, it kind of just adds something else. It's almost like bringing in video, bringing in audio. I look at these platforms, and that's what I love about Twitter, is it's just so modular and it's so expandable. So always kind of be looking to these things. I don't think Cinch is going to make sense for everyone.
No.
But if you have a brand, if you're trying to talk about something, it is a great way to kind of bring in something different to your stream. What else is out there? What else are you guys using?
I love Quick. QIK.
QIK, which is a live streaming video service. Yeah. I've always I used it as well when it first got going. I haven't used it in a long time though.
I actually haven't either. I've just, for whatever reason, I haven't been able to touch it. But I think it's a really great service for very seamlessly live streaming from your smartphone. And I like where that's taking media, especially because, live TV, hello. Yeah. And doing it from your mobile. But I love Quick. I also, a site that I appreciate is Daily Booth. I think that's kind of clever. I mean, I did a few posts and then kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, but I like the idea of posting a photo of yourself every day. Sure. Where you're just kind of like, hey, here I am. You can upload stuff, but it's interesting to see how people are using that.
Yeah, like Daily Booth, I don't know.
I don't know really where it's going to go per se, but it's fun.
I think they'll do well, and it really feels like someone's going to scoop them up at some point just because of the audience they have. But the audience, as far as I can tell, is like, kind of, should I say, like...
I do feel like a little bit of a child predator when I'm on that site.
Thank you.
As a 28-year-old.
Yeah. I do. Sometimes I'm kind of browsing, looking at my friends, and I'm like, these girls are not legal. How did these girls get into my stream? It's not good. But I don't know. I think I look at Daily Booth, Formspring. They're having the same effect that Myspace had a few years ago, which helped them skyrocket to where they are, where they were. And that is that young kids love it. Parents hate it.
Parents hate it.
Parents hate it. If you ever see any social service that parents hate, that's a good investment.
I believe you've talked before with Audio.
Yes.
AUDIOO.
Yes, which is like voicemails.
Similar, where people can literally share their voicemail messages on Twitter. So, if you've got a Google Voice account, you can easily sync those up. And if you get a horrible, but seriously funny breakup message, or, someone yelling at you, or, actually, I used this great example with one of the casting directors that was in my class. She said, I get some of the most outlandish messages from people that are trying to woo me over, or, one guy asked me out on a date, to try and get a role. She said, and so I'm going to use Audio to post weekly messages that say, don't ever do this.
Nice. We played some of the messages, and I gotta say, they're pretty amazing.
They're funny.
Yeah, we had them here in the studio. Before we move on, the last space I did want to talk about, which is what we talked about a little bit, was I want more followers, I want more fans, I want more. I'm addicted to the crack pipe that is social media influence.
Well, I know that Brocco is addicted to lists.
I am. I'm a list.
So he's the only one using lists. Lists, I don't think lists are very valuable. And I can tell you, no one at Myspace is using lists. Facebook came out and said nobody's using lists. I think they said it was 1% or something like that, less than 1%.
Wow.
Twitter, I don't know. I just think it feels like you put them in that list and then you forget about them. Like, that's where I want to, I don't know, I put my ex-girlfriends in lists so I don't have to ever think about them again,
I mean, I find it valuable because you can, for me, I don't even follow my main stream. I just follow lists.
You're using that to actually read the stream.
So I use it to read and then communicate. So you can have a very targeted list of people if it's in an area that you want to, expand your network or whatnot. You can follow that list, and you're making sure that you communicate with that group on a regular basis. So I find it extremely valuable. So
a lot of people are asking about ping. We'll definitely get to ping. I have some outrageous opinions on that. So your point, though, is that you can use lists to build followings because you can create lists. Some people will notice that they're on the list. Maybe they'll follow you back. Maybe they'll look at you as a curator of whatever niche topic you're trying to cover.
I see it less as a tool that way, more of just being able to keep track of people in a certain network.
Okay.
For example, we're here in LA, and I have an LA tech group. So I kind of build that list and curate that list, and I'm able to kind of keep track on everything that's going on and communicate within that group. So
well, let's put you in the hot seat, Sean. What about you?
So I'll share some secrets, not all. Twittercounter.com, if you can kind of pull that up. This has been one of the better, more legit ways that I've found that you can actually get more followers on Twitter. And essentially what you're doing is you're buying ad space. And if you see at the second tab there, it says get more followers. And I know that sounds horrible. And well, that's funny. I saw some people I know that are on the right there. So yeah, put in your name. Oh, I don't think you need to do this, actually. Sorry, X out of that. So Twitter counter, more followers. I just want to get down to their pricing so we can kind of see what they're doing. There we go. Is that it? Nope, that's something else. You're in the wrong place. Get back up, get more followers. Yep. This is why you don't do anything live. Become a featured user. There we go. Yeah, get there, and then we'll get, there we go. Okay, so essentially what you're doing is you're buying ad impressions. You're not buying followers. I assume that's frowned upon. You're buying ad impressions on this site. And the nice thing about this site is anyone that uses is pretty, you might say they're a power user. They're trying to get into the analytics about their site. They're trying to understand how their growth is and so forth. And so they essentially, people follow from this site. And so there's a few tricks. If we can show that up just one time, let's take a look at the pricing just so we know what we're looking at. Hit that pull-down menu there. So that's the amount of views or impressions you'd be buying. Now, obviously that price gets a little insane there. What I recommend to people is actually just do kind of the bare minimum. See that 15 to 30,000 a month? So you're talking about $65 to $129. This is for the little guy. If you're a big company, you can spend a little bit more. One secret about this site is, as people opt in, there's a little box that they check that says, follow all featured users. And so all these people have done this. Real people, they've gone through the process. It's not bots. They've gone through the process of becoming a user. They use that stat. They've checked that box. So just being featured once, even for $65, will give you a boost. And then what will happen is every single month, you'll get a boost because they'll bring in more people that have indicated they want to auto-follow anyone who's a featured user. And then you get on top of that, you get the bonus of becoming, getting the ad impressions and so forth. And so it actually does work. Every single time you're featured, you get a little boost. Depends on how many impressions you buy. So that's kind of one of my secrets that I always tell. And it's really good if you're an account, and I did it for This Week in Social Media, actually. So we started the account, we didn't have many, and if you look at it now, after that we have 300 or almost 400. And so it's a great way to kind of just get a little bit of boost and get some real people as opposed to a ton of bots that don't really do much for you.
Now, how do you feel about stuff like this? I know we talked to Clout a couple weeks back. It used to be, I think, when Twitter first started, that follower count was the figure, and then it was kind of lists when they released lists, and now it's sort of a combination of all this stuff. What do you see as?
I don't know. I always say, if you have an audience of nothing, then it sucks because it's almost not worth it for you. But I don't know. The influencer versus follower is a pretty tough debate. Obviously, the number is not the only thing. You need to have followers who are within your topic. You need to have that reach of people that might actually click through, enjoy your product, want to interact with you. That's key. So you always have to be focused on that. Don't just be focused on the number. The problem is, though, that the execs, people, the newbies, that's all they can really think about. So they're only focused on that number. So they got to get somewhere. My thought is get you somewhere, get that good foundation of people, and then build upon it with your relevant followers from there. Is the real key to success.
I'm a big fan of following competition. So even looking at competitor lists too, because I know Twitter lists in general maybe not so much, but looking at the list they've curated and following a lot of those same people.
Other secrets I like to kind of reveal is like, it seems pretty second nature, like you'd want to do this, but like you need to have something on your site that says, you know, follow me on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like you really need to do it in a way that makes sense. So the cheesy buttons I think are kind of horrible. The horrible bluebird graphics that people love to do, not really a big fan of that. Get smart about it and use these tools that Twitter offers. If we can look at the Twitter goodies, I think they call it. Both TweetMe and Twitter offer this, and essentially you want a really good call to action with anything. And what they do is they'll give you a little like follow button. And so if people are logged in, they can just follow and do it. If not, they can authorize the account. If we can take a look at the Twitter goodies, did you get it?
So yeah, I have it up here.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
These are the buttons for following.
Yeah, see, these are a little better here. Now, but don't they have something a little bit more though? Maybe they don't have that.
They do have widgets.
Yeah, the widgets I think are good. You know, those are the retweet buttons. This is actually the other piece that actually I was going to bring up as well. Notice your name's in there. So this is their new Twitter button. Essentially what it does is when you want people to retweet your content, you have the option now to kind of upsell them to follow you as well. And so this is a great thing. So definitely use these buttons if you're not using them already. And you'll notice you can enter up to 2 screen names that you want to attach. So after they retweet your content, which is obviously a great sign that they're into you for whatever reason, then you upsell them to follow just to make sure that you have that connection there as well.
I was just going to mention as well, you talked about lists. A great site that I love for going to lists is listorious.com.
Yes.
I have it up here. This basically is the place to go to find any list related to any topic, curates it, shows you the top lists in any different vertical. So this is a great site to check out to see who's sort of the curators of different things. So.
I've used that too.
I have not used that because I think lists are dumb, but that's okay. I guess the other piece too is, let's not just talk about Twitter because I know it's really easy to get stuck in there. Facebook fans. The best way to get Facebook fans is to buy their ads. I gotta say, I hate to say it, feed the beast. The ads are great. They're so highly targeted. They're already logged in, so that adding a fan is just like, there's no walls there, they just add it. There's a nice interactivity where it shows, or the relational relationships where it says, hey, your friends, 5 of your friends like this.
Right.
Like, that really incentivizes people to kind of click through
Me too.
And they're cheap, it's like maybe you're paying 25 cents for a fan. I think that's worth it. I wouldn't go too crazy and spend $1 or a few dollars per fan, depending on what you're selling, but 25 cents for a fan, I think that's a good deal.
And especially too, Facebook Places that just was released. You can claim your place if you're a business.
Yep.
So I claimed here Mahalo, and I just got the invite, so it gives you a bunch of admin tools so to connect with people who check in and do all sorts of things.
What do you need for that? You need a business license? You need some kind of...
We had to send. You had to send like your articles of incorporation, phone number, email.
It
was pretty intense,
and
it took. We did it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, you just got the email today, right?
Yeah, yesterday. So.
I just got the email today too. I tried to claim a place and I didn't provide any of the right documentation. I just kind of fledged in. They wrote back and they're like, "No, sorry, you can't get that."
Yeah.
So. Cool. All right. Well, geez, God, we were rambling for quite a while there. I didn't realize that. Well. Let's talk about some featured apps before we get too lost as well. Some people had some questions in the chat room. Let me just make sure. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Intellectual property concerns using social media? I don't know. I wouldn't link your top secret documents.
That's why you have all the monitoring tools to, keep a list of keywords that you're searching to make sure people aren't leaking company information.
Yep. And I would never leak company information unless it was well orchestrated, which it always is in my case. Let's talk about these apps, because you found these apps actually.
Yeah, these are kind of interesting apps.
Yeah,
the first one I want to talk about is Cardly, CARD.ly. This was actually in the news this week because they were acquired. But this is basically a cool tool to create an online version of a business card. So let's say you do not have the resources, or you don't want to build a full-blown out site. You can use Cardly to essentially create an online business card. It gives you an about page. It shows your social links to your Digg, WordPress, or whatever happens to be, contact information.
There was something like this about 1.5 years ago that came out around South by Southwest, and it fell off the map.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what will happen with this one, because I think it's a great concept to have an online business card, but
I'm not convinced.
Are we kind of going further than that, I guess?
Are you talking about the text where you text the number? Those are still around. There's a few of those services.
Yeah, but they're not doing that
You
well.
text and then you get the information on your phone and you get the little V card that you can easily bring in too as well. I don't know. I kind of feel business cards are dying to a certain extent. I don't want them anymore. Like they just end up piling. I don't know. They just don't seem to have the value. I think this is a little more interesting, perhaps if you don't have the ability to roll your own website. Personally, I'd rather just roll my own website and say, that's me.
Yeah.
Google me and you'll get my first hit and all my contact information is available there.
I think it's good though too. I mean, for me personally, and I always like this when people have this in their email signature, which is the tool we're going to talk about next, is a link to their vCard.
Yes.
Just because I can just click it, it can import into my contact library, whether I'm using Google Contacts or
on the phone,
Apple.
whatever.
So it's just really super easy to do. I definitely recommend everyone to have a link to a vCard on their site or in their signature. So,
Have a good use then.
Yeah.
That is good. vCard sounds dirty to me, but that's just me. I'm a pervert. What else you got? This next one actually I am
I like
interested
this
in.
next one.
Yeah, so speaking of vCard, basically this is a tool called Wise Stamp.
Okay.
This was in the news this week. And this tool it's basically an extension in your browser. And what it does is it auto-inserts information in your email signature. So it could be from any social networks, Twitter. It supports about 20 or 25 services. And
So
what's
you can
cool,
select which
yeah, you can select
services.
which ones. It shows the icons in the signature. And what's really cool is that you can set it so that it pulls in the latest tweet or the latest update on a social network.
Can you
right in your signature there?
Can it use a RSS feed or something like that?
Yeah, I believe you can use RSS. You can use a bunch of different ones. Stumble upon. So it's a kind of interesting tool. I'm not huge on the signatures with tons of graphics and images, just because you get a bunch of attachments and it's kind of clunky.
Yeah.
But I thought this was kind of an interesting tool.
I like the notion of it being dynamic content to some extent.
I
Or at
actually-
least fresh content.
Yeah, I actually do this myself on
Yeah.
my work email. Is I have a little piece and I rotate it out based on what's hot. We had a new iPad app, so I'll put that down there. And so the fact that we can automate that to a certain extent, I think that's kind of interesting. Side rant, don't you guys think it's crazy when people put those disclaimers that are like 10 pages long?
Oh, I hate it.
Does that mean shit? We got JS Pepper in the chat room. He must know something. Like these legal disclaimers on your email, does that protect you from anything? I don't get it. There's two things that are wrong. And let's get a doing it wrong stamp going here because it's the email signature with the long legal disclaimer, and then it's the please don't print this email for the dolphin's sake. Who's printing emails? Doing it wrong. Thank you. Definitely doing it wrong. I'm certainly not printing all my emails out. My dad is my dad and loves everything in paper, and he's not even printing emails out. Who's printing emails? I don't know.
Especially pages and pages of the disclaimers.
I know, yeah. But I don't think it really protects you legally. I don't know. I'll ask some of the lawyers in Myspace. So that was my side rant. I love Wise Stamp. I think this is great. I'm gonna definitely check it out.
Yeah.
So Twitter RSS feed. Put in your laundry list, put in whatever you want there to really kind of highlight that. Great, and on that note, let's go to the news.
I love that intro.
I do too, and JS Pepper's saying that it is a legal issue and can protect you, so I'm gonna find out.
Huh.
And he says he prints an email that says that because he hates trees and dolphins and babies. What's in the news?
So
Apple Ping is at the top of the list.
Apple had a bunch of announcements. Steve Jobs had a big keynote this week.
Yeah.
Apple Ping is their new music social network.
Yes.
So
Sounds
many
familiar.
have been calling about its possible effects on MySpace, which we can get into.
Yes, the phone was ringing off the hook. Yep.
But basically, Ping is a social network built on music within iTunes. Allows you to follow artists, allows you to post your activity, your purchase activity, your likes of different albums on your page in iTunes. So it's kind of interesting that Apple's getting into the space. They haven't really done social networking. This is kind of their entree into it. So it'd be interesting to see how this happens and how it affects MySpace. How do you think this affects MySpace?
Well, we basically just started packing boxes and closing up the place because Apple's doing it and we're done. But no, so it's funny. Scoble, as soon as they announced it, tweeted, MySpace is dead. Sorry, Percival. And from there, of course, the Scobleites retweeted it like 5,000 times, and it was quite terrifying for me. But okay, so MySpace, it really comes down to this. Music is big for us. Not a majority of our traffic, though. It is a big, big part of our site. We have all the big guys already. We really try try and, at least I try and think about, we want to cater to the indie guys. It's all about the indie guys. You're a small band. Most of the time when I'm discovering music through Myspace, it's not a big name. It's the real small guys. And I can tell you just by the hoops you have to go through to deal with Apple, like, the indie guys are not getting much love in iTunes.
Yeah.
You know, the big guys do. Like, I would love to hear what you guys think, but I was so underwhelmed by Ping when I got in there. It felt, I don't know, one, it's in a client, which I think is horrible.
Oh, yeah. Hello, Apple.
There was no, it was really difficult. I'm always concerned about the onboarding process for any social site. And it just wasn't great. I logged in there, and it's like when you go into Second Life, when that was actually interesting, and like you're like, well, what do I do now? All right, well, it's going to take me hours or days to figure out like that's where the sex beach is, and I go have fun. Like that's the same.
And you
with
fly
Ping.
over there naked.
Yeah, like with Ping, it was like you dropped into nowhere, and you just didn't know what to do. It was hard to find people. I had to kind of fight through, and I found one person, and then I could kind of go through their friends and find other people as well, or find artists. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt like such a kind of a light experience to me. I was expecting a lot more depth. So I don't know. What are your guys' opinions on it?
Well, the first opinion was when I went to set up my profile.
Yeah.
And they had to. There's a note.
Oh, you
there.
did not like this.
You had to.
I saw your Twitter stream.
Image had to be approved by Apple. Your profile picture.
That was so Apple-esque, and I can
Very.
tell you, even at Myspace, we do manually review every photo that goes in the system just to protect. We don't want porn, we don't want crap, we don't want all these things. But the fact that it was there, I couldn't upload my photo. Once I did, it was like, oh, your photo will be approved. It was just. That seems so weird. It was so Apple-esque that they would have that kind of system in place where it's like it's hard to add a photo. Like that's the first thing you do when you set up a new social profile. Yeah.
I have a completely different take on this whole story because I'm looking at this saying, Apple, why won't you just stream music? Let streams, do your own streaming service. Like that's the question that I've been hearing on the cloud side, this whole time is when is Apple going to step up their game and have a streaming service that competes with a Pandora, with a, Last FM, with all of these guys. And I feel like this was their lame attempt at addressing music a little bit more by having more of a music, sharing in the sense of, do you like this? Do you not like this? I would have much rather seen a streaming service come out of them.
Yeah, I agree because I buy something on my iPhone, I buy it on my Apple TV, I buy it on my laptop, and like it's always a pain to get them on the same page. It's like, oh, that's right, that song's not there, it's on the other service, and I
want my iTunes in the cloud.
But like here's the real meat of the service is me being able to see what you guys bought and kind of find new artists.
Right.
But it's the top piece. Do you have your profile up there? Maybe we can.
Yeah, I have it up here.
Pull that so we have some reference too. Like, do you have your iTunes? So look at your profile. Go to my profile on the top right. So the main piece where I really want to discover who you are and what you're finding is those little grid, and that little grid in the very top right there. It seemed like that was the depth of like that. I mean, and me, like I looked at it and I had bought 1,000 songs in the last year on my iTunes, and it was showing me, 8 of randomly of sort of the last ones I bought, but not really. Like it just didn't give me a great insight into myself or my friends or help me find new artists. I don't know. It seems like that's lacking. Yeah. Maybe it's because the stream hasn't had time to build and create some value there where I could look through and be like, cool, they bought that, kind of get a Blippy experience, which I love Blippy. I love being able to see what people bought, but like, it seemed like if that's the heart of discovery is seeing what your friends are doing, it seems like that's not there.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of my biggest disappointments is I was expecting my entire rating history and view counts to just be pushed up there. I would think that would come, and I don't know how else they could give you all these recommendations.
And Brocco's very specific about that with his music collection.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Does he have good taste in music?
I have a crazy iTunes organizational strategy, which we won't get into. That would be another whole show.
I know. As we go deeper into the show, we learn about your OCD. And
we do.
It's a little scary, I gotta say. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's a big question, and we'll never know. Did Apple rush this product out? Did they have to meet this, and it's not? In 6 months, is it going to be great?
I really think they needed to come out with something.
Yeah.
Because there has been so much speculation in the market about are they going to have a streaming service? Is there finally going to be iTunes?
They bought one. I mean, they bought Lala.
Exactly. They bought Lala, which is just sitting
social.
on a shelf now. Lala, even one of their key executives left. So Lala, everyone's wondering what's going to happen with that. Did Apple do that just to take them out of the market? Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's eventually coming. I mean, they released the Apple TV, which is a completely streaming device, no hard drive. So I think they're moving that way. And I think like everything Apple does, they do it very slowly to perfect it.
True.
When the first iPhone came out, it had all these flaws and things it didn't have, and eventually it got to the point where people had features that people wanted, and so I think that's the same thing.
They
here.
also are building a massive, massive data center, and so people are wondering what that will be used for.
Sure,
so
some kind of Death Star kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had a good point. I lost it. Damn it. Let's move on then. What else is going on in the world of social?
So this was an interesting story. So Virgin America partnered up with Looped to offer a promotion for people who checked in. So basically how this worked was you had to check in at SFO or LAX and also check in at a variety of taco trucks in San Francisco and Los Angeles in a certain 4-hour window. And if you did that, you got basically 2-for-1 tickets from either San Francisco or Los Angeles to Cancun or Los Cabos. So 1,300 people did this promotion. It raised a lot of buzz on the interwebs. I thought it was just kind of interesting promotion. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are as a...
I think it would be an even better promotion if they did it right before spring break.
I think Virgin America can do no wrong. When you get on Virgin America, you realize that most of the people are good looking, the music, the soundtrack kicks ass, the lighting is wonderful.
You feel like you're in a club.
Dude, I always joke, I'm always like,
It's
I feel
like a club.
like, well, I mean, I feel like I'm about to go have sex in space. And that sounds exciting to me. That's what I want to do. So Virgin America, once again, they can do no wrong.
Have you ever gotten a massage by one of the onboard Virgin America?
I didn't know they had that, no.
They have...
Really, Brocco?
If it depends on where you... If you fly a certain...
Is that the Thailand
no, it was Boston to London. And if you fly like upper first, you get a masseuse and you get like this full treatment. It's pretty
Full
crazy.
treatment, huh?
Yeah.
Brock, wink, wink.
So well, not a full treatment, but...
That sounds like a very happy flight.
Yes, indeed.
Good. How did it end?
Won't go there.
Okay, good. So I think this is great. So this is combining all the weird things of social media that no one really gets, and we don't know where it's going to go. Food trucks, location-based stuff, and free stuff. Great. That's the whole package right there. That's the.
I wonder what they would have done
if
a ton of people. I mean, I wonder if they had a cap at some point. They had to have. Maybe that's why they didn't do it around spring break.
Yeah, because they had another thing as well where it was the free flights. Remember, they did that other giveaway. They gave away free
or something?
Based on your cloud score, and they did max that out as well too. So I'm assuming at some point. The question is, how much publicity do they build with these things? Does it all make it worth it?
Yeah.
I don't know. And I bet they're pretty smart guys. They probably look at it and be like, you know what? These flights are going to be light for that this time. Let's fill them up and get some goodwill and some press out of it as well.
Cool.
Great.
Last story I want to talk about is MySpace related.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
What's that?
So they launched Facebook status update syncing.
Yeah.
Basically allows you to sync your MySpace status to Facebook. So what do you think about this? You mentioned before the show that you can't do the reverse. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that. And
yeah, I mean, it's weird. I think I tweeted about it once it finally logged. Honestly, it's been in the works for a long, long time. But I tweeted about it like, oh, I've synced up my MySpace and Facebook, and the world did not explode. Now, it's funny because months ago, I remember people were like, oh, MySpace is going to do this. MySpace is going to wave the white flag and kind of give it there. I don't know. My opinion is, like I said, I don't think you should mix them up where you have too much duplication going back and forth. However, if it makes your life easier, if you're only programming on MySpace and you want to reach your fans, then definitely you should have that option as well to kind of make sure that gets out there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal, and it was funny, the press wasn't that negative, so I guess that has kind of died down as well. Like I said, I'm using it for some stuff, but MySpace, even though I work there, it's not my primary input into status updates. That's Twitter. That's just how it is. That's how I am. So I've enabled it, but really all you're going to see now is my very specific to MySpace activities. So a photo update. I've kind of reduced some of my, that's the nice thing about MySpace is you kind of reduce your stream activities so they don't go too much out there. So you probably won't see too much from me, but I don't know. Like I said, it's going to make some people's lives easier. I think if you're a band and MySpace is your main platform, then this will be a great way for you to get that message out to your fan page as well too.
Good point.
Yeah. But it's not going back the other way, and for a bunch of weird reasons I won't get into, or I'll get fired.
So I'm going to throw a wild card in here.
Oh, wow.
Surprise that you didn't have in the show notes.
Wasn't in the show
one last
notes?
story, and I had to bring it up, but I remember just right now. So a buddy that I work with here at Mahalo went to Harvard, and a buddy of his shot him this site.
I know who you're talking about.
DateHarvardSQ.com. So for Harvard men, this might be a site you want to check out. Basically, what this allows you to do is only Harvard men can join.
What's going on here? Is this some kind of plug, some kind of paid placement?
This could be, but if it's true, it's genius.
Okay.
Basically, it allows you, if you're a Harvard graduate, to join and you have to prove that you graduated, and it's free, right? But any woman can join, but they have to pay. So that's basically the dynamic of the site.
The idea being that you're getting more intelligent, more successful.
So we've talked about some dating sites before. I just thought this was pretty interesting, a pretty interesting take on the dating scene.
Interesting.
So I figured I had to bring it up.
Did you go to Harvard?
No. So I'm out of luck.
And the guy that brought
Can
that
you
up,
join and pretend you're a woman?
I don't think that's an option.
he only does that on the weekend. Who was in the chat room that thought Mike was cute, by the way?
I don't know. I don't see the username anymore.
Call your.
Yeah,
Say your name.
You
Say
know,
your name.
Speak up. We'll get you a date. He needs one. So yeah, I don't know. These dating sites are like out of control. I'm so glad I'm married. I don't have to worry about this stuff. Like the Apple dating site, all these things. And it's funny. We even talk a lot about Myspace because Myspace used to be the place you'd go to hook up. Mm-hmm. I made all kinds of bad decisions on Myspace. It was great.
Apparently on ICQ too.
And ICQ as well. We talked about that before the show. ICQ used to be great for meeting girls. It's kind of gone that. I don't think Facebook is a site that you go to meet other people, right? It's really about people that are in your life for one reason or another, and then the randoms that kind of come and find you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's all been moved over to OkCupid and Match.com. It's like they seem to kind of own that. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the problem is if you bring someone into the fold on Facebook as a friend,
you
then
show them, it's
not good.
It's like inviting them to their house. It's like letting them look in your underwear drawer. Like that's what's nice about those dating sites is they do kind of have a wall. I mean, you use dating sites like. You don't really expose your full name, right? You kind of
no.
Yeah, you keep things kind of private because you don't want them doing the little googly search and seeing you on the show being made fun of by me. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's what it's come down to. If you want to meet someone online now, you got to go to a niche dating site that's aligned with your interests and or where you want to be in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should we bug Amanda about this stuff? Usually, we give
Juliana
quiet
a hard time. I don't know what.
Should we embarrass you?
No comment.
What is your comment on
I
on
went to school nearby Harvard boys. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Would you, have you ever signed up for a dating site?
No, I have not.
You have not?
No,
Okay.
I have not.
Okay.
With this face, do I really need to? I mean, come on.
I would say no.
Thank you.
You just simply need to grace the room with your presence. And, there you go. That's your dating site. So, all right, we'll stop embarrassing you. We're running out of time anyway. I think that's the last news.
Got a great moment coming up.
We do.
Great moment?
Well, I was going to say, we got our widget too. All right, we will go to great moments just because we played that fabulous intro. Great moment, I think we want to talk about the Digg revolt. There's so much going on with this Digg revolt, I don't even know where to start, and we've talked about it a little bit before. I think, though, like if you can pull up that image, now what's been happening is the Digg users have been taking over the site. The inmates have been running the asylum, as they like to say. And essentially, let's pull up that image. It's gotten to the point now where I've gone into Digg and it's been nothing but photos of people of saying, Kevin Rose, please fix it. Here's a great example. Here is the top news of the day. Notice all those links. Reddit, 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 Reddit. Keep going. Is it all Reddit all the time? All Reddit all the time. So what's really fascinating about this, too, I'll keep rambling. Pull up Wall Street Journal. Peter Kafka, I think his name is. He has a great chart that we can look at, and we can kind of, I don't know if you saw that, but it shows some of the rise and decline. But yeah, I mean, this Digg thing is insane. I keep wanting to say that like Digg's done. I don't think they're done. I think they're going to make it through this. Yeah, I think it's just one of those tough things. Users hate change. I can tell you. Look at the Facebook changes. Twitter changes people seem to like, but they're a little bit more subtle. MySpace changes we've been making, people have been going crazy and sending me hate mail. Like, users just, I've literally gotten messages on MySpace saying, just don't ever change anything ever. Please go back to the way it was in 2005. It's just not realistic. Like, I don't know.
I appreciate the way the community is responding with Digg.
Yeah.
It's really tongue-in-cheek. It's funny. It's creative.
It's I guess, democratic, which is the whole point of the site, and they're using the power of the system to try and express themselves.
Isn't there some vigil tonight
There's a candlelight vigil tonight we talked about. So I don't know if people will actually go, but that's hilarious. So I don't know. I love how passionate that community is. They're obviously showing it. Is Digg going to die? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think Reddit mentioned, or it was in an article, that their uniques are about 900,000 a day, which is a 50% increase since the new Digg was released. So it's kind of interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously what's interesting too is Facebook is starting to make up a lot, but also StumbleUpon. Like StumbleUpon, nobody thinks of StumbleUpon. Maybe because they've been acquired and no one wants to talk about them anymore. But like, Jesus, Stumble Upon, like...
There's some real super users on Stumble Upon.
If you follow Tim Ferriss, you know what Stumble Upon is.
Yeah, I love Stumble because it's like, Digg is sometimes limited to those male geeks between, 18 and 35, which is not a bad demographic, but like, Stumble Upon is the geeks, and then all of Middle America, and like, I always joke, I'm like, this is what, your parents used to send you those like horrible emails and they'd forward like 10 times to you. Like they've kind of evolved and moved into Stumble Upon users.
Yeah, exactly.
They get it. Stumble, 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 click. Was there one more chart on there, on that article? I thought there was something that showed like the kind of delta between Digg and Reddit just kind of going insane. Essentially, like you were saying, Reddit's gone through the roof and Digg has gone fucking to the basement.
I think you just dropped an F-bomb.
I think I did too.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to say that? All right.
Bleep.
I would say we lost our sponsors, but we don't have any right now. So I don't know. That's it. Let's kind of see what happens. Before we go, we have one video because we always love it when our weird internet viral people make some money out of it. And this is the double rainbow guy. If you haven't seen the double rainbow, it's essentially this very unique individual. Bear, is that his name?
Yeah, his Paul Bear Vasquez.
Yeah, so he saw double rainbow and it was very exciting. And since then, of course, the internet's took over and made a bunch of remixes. He's become famous. He actually landed a commercial with Microsoft. So Microsoft, trying to be hip as usual, has tapped into this meme. Let's roll that commercial and enjoy.
Whoa, look at that. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa. Wow, look at that. Full on double rainbow all the way across the sky. Wow. Woo!
How do you fit a double rainbow in a single shot? You don't. You do it in 3. With Windows Live Photo Gallery, you can use Photo Stitch to combine adjacent photos and capture that double rainbow the way it should be captured. Full on, all the way across the sky.
What does it mean?
Windows Live Photo Gallery.
Pretty good. I gotta say.
It makes me smile. It makes me laugh.
What can you do with that video? You can't show that video on TV. I don't think it's. Although I did watch Anderson Cooper was talking about last night. I don't think it would translate on TV. I don't think people would be like, they wouldn't pick up on it.
Yeah, not as much. I mean, we can appreciate it.
Yeah. So I wonder if that was a TV spot or if that was really primarily for the web. That I'm not sure. Do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if this was actually used anywhere, but they did get a lot of press for it, so it was kind of funny. And Enrique at NREC on Twitter mentioned that if this meme, because I was kind of getting sick of this meme, but I think this might be the nail in the coffin that kind of moves it away. Gotta say.
Yeah, as soon as you do a commercial about your meme, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
You're done.
I mean, you're going to need a triple rainbow at this point to really do anything.
And some unicorns.
And some unicorns. But yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of funny to see the guy behind the meme. Kind of looks like a Digg user, but I wasn't going to say that.
He reminds me of that, was it a Hawaiian singer that died that does this song that's, I can't remember the name of it.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't remember.
Partially Somewhere Over the Rainbow, partially Wonderful World.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sorry, my, in-depth knowledge of Hawaiian folk music is limited to a certain extent. We have just crossed over the hour mark, which means that every second we have to pay someone, so we're going to stop. Thank you again for joining us. This has been another episode of This Week in Social Media. Join us every week, Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. Talk to you soon.